Great.
Yeah. Welcome to TechSign Talks. We're here at SAP Sapphire. We're talking to Sean Kask. He's the Chief AI Strategy Officer at SAP. And you announced a lot of things just now during the keynote.
Yes.
Most of them around Joule.
Yep.
I guess that's kind of your child within SAP.
Yeah.
Or,
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain a bit what Joule is to you and how you experience Joule?
Okay. I mean, I use Joule almost every day internally, to be honest. So we've rolled that out to all the SAP employees now. But, I mean, what it started out with, and Joule's, I think, just about a year and a half old since we first announced it. But it's a digital Copilot, right? Yeah. That is embedded across the SAP applications. And just to demystify it a little bit, it allows users to interact with the system using natural language. And very basically, you can find information from the system. You can execute transactions in the system. You can navigate to the system. So I use it for things like, I don't know, I had to transfer a headcount, for example, from one country to another. And I said, okay, how do I do that? Yeah. And then it's bringing me to the documentation, and then it brings me to the page in SuccessFactors where I actually have to click through and do that, right? So at a very basic level, that's what Joule does.
But can you also ask Joule to do it for you?
It can also, in certain cases, execute transactions. So that's these Joule skills that we've released. I was also prominently on stage. I think we finished with 1,300 skills last year. Now we're at 1,600. Cool. What a skill is it's this one-to-one mapping between something that the user wants to do and something that Joule can do. Right? So get purchase order number, show vacation balance, these kind of things. Where Joule's going, maybe, right? So again, a lot there, I think very useful. Now we have this great basis now to make Joule more agentic and start to work with these AI agents.
What's the difference between Joule now and Joule last year? Maybe I think a lot of your customers will wonder, it's something you introduced last year, you're still talking about it. What's the difference?
Yeah. I mean, we rolled out a lot more features and functions of Joule, right? So more skills, covers 11 languages now, for example. It's available across the suite now. So, we initially started in SuccessFactors, for example, and S4 Cloud, and now it's available across the suite, fully available by the end of the year. So that's kind of what's evolved.
Yeah.
But again, it's also opening the door now for these AI agents. So Joule as the main orchestrator for agents and the entry point where users can then interact with agents.
Mm-hmm.
And something I think wasn't stressed enough in the keynote, the presentations is, Joule itself will start to become agentic. So we call this Joule native agenticness.
So Joule isn't really the agent itself, but it's the orchestrator that calls on different agents underneath.
Exactly. So you can define, and we announced, we'll have 40 approximately. So we have these, well-defined agents that come out of the box that do specific tasks like dispute management, for example.
Yeah.
Right? So dispute management is perfect for agentic AI. Because you get a dispute in, and then might come in an email, might come in the system. You have to read it, understand it. What kind of dispute is this? Maybe I need to go look in a PDF document for the policy and look in the supply chain system to see if the delivery note is reconciled. These kind of things. Iteratively look through this information and package it. So that's these kind of perfect use cases for agents, and we're releasing a number of those. And Joule will orchestrate and be the entry point for users to interact with that. And for the native agenticness, what that means is, I mentioned we have these 1,600 skills in Joule, and Joule also understands various tools that it can access, like APIs, right, that we expose inside the system. And then you can ask it a much more complex task, like, let me give a spot award, which is one Joule skill, okay? But let me give a spot award to the top 5 people in sales this year and send them an email, right? So now I'm asking 3 or 4 things. And Joule will then say, okay, let me plan, right? I need to activate these 5 skills, and I need to access this system, and then I need to confirm, and it plans out and it iteratively executes these kind of things. So the system itself.
But does that mean that Joule has unlimited access to all the skills?
Joule can, of course, access the 1,600 skills, yeah.
Yeah. But without the man in the middle, or?
Yeah.
Because you ask it a question, it knows all the skills, so it can do it, but is it allowed to do it as well?
In our AI ethics policy, two things. In our AI ethics policy, we clearly stipulate that, we build to have human in the loop. The humans are always in control. I mean, there are cases.
Because sometimes it can be helpful to have an autonomous agent.
Yeah, I think before any major decision or transaction is executed in the system, we still want humans to verify. I mean, there's a bit of a difference.
You can have a human IT manager enabling an autonomous action, of course.
Yes.
Like if someone needs to order a new laptop or something, and that's fine, and that's within policy. It just automatically shoots the order to some vendor that will deliver the laptop.
Of course, have good logging in place and these kind of things. I mean, there's a bit of a difference between classical narrow AI and generative AI in that context. So narrow AI, as a function of how you train it, you have an accuracy score and you get a confidence score when you're doing something, right? So, for example, for years we've had this in production, years, right? Matching invoices to bank statements. You can set in the system, look, anything above 90% confidence, which is a mathematical score you get from a model, go ahead and automate it, which is high. I mean, let's not make mistakes, right? If there's a mistake, you can follow it. You don't get those scores from agentic AI. So typically we, again, good logging and have a human in the loop to verify.
But the term agentic can sometimes be a bit difficult because everybody uses it in its own way.
Thank you.
I did Google SAP and I saw that you support the agent-to-agent protocol, you support the MCP protocol. So it also means your agents can talk to other agents, but it's not something you discussed yesterday or today during the keynote. It's more about the skills and about the single interaction with the human and performing an action, but not so much on the background, because you just described a few situations in which I think, okay, but maybe you have a procurement agent, you can ask questions about the process going on, but another agent is working on something else, but they just need to check the information. But it is something that can happen. Are you already there, or is that agent-to-agent communication something that's coming later?
I think the industry needs to agree on standard protocols for that.
Yeah.
And that's why we joined the agent-to-agent communication
I think that's a good
protocol that's been started by Google. MCP as well, right? Which is useful for allowing LLMs and agents to client-server architecture, right? Pull information from the system in a structured way, as well as for our own agents to be able to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Certainly that's something we support doing it in a standardized manner. I mean, for some of the initial ones, we can make them talk to each other. But we follow where the industry is going with these standard communication protocols.
Okay. And I also had some discussions earlier with your colleagues, and they told me the whole way we're going to experience SaaS solutions is going to change due to all these agents and especially to Joule as an interaction. How do you see the future then of your applications? Are your business users going to talk to Joule every time they open the portal, or how will it work?
I think it makes the systems much more accessible, right, to everybody. And I think you saw a bit of that in the demo, right, in the keynote, where I can go right in the system and say, it says, oh, you're missing a supplier, right? You go ahead and now open an RFP. You need to create another one, and being able to either navigate or do that directly in the system, and then not needing to think about, okay, which business application do I need to look at, right? I think that will slowly emerge as newer generations entering the workforce, right? Makes it very simple for them to just interact with the system, and again with this WalkMe integration, because WalkMe, right? This is supporting this omnipresent Joule, we call it, right? And WalkMe is basically it's like a desktop client or on your mobile, and it can understand the DOM, right? So the user interface, right, and all the elements on it, and they actually have AI, quite advanced DPUI, they call it. They have a number of patents behind that, right? And that kind of gives Joule arms and legs, right? So it gives it more context. It can see what the
it can understand what's happening on the web page.
Yeah, and it was developed initially to help users use the system, right? To train them. So say, okay, go and create a purchase order for the first time, and then it shows them where to click and these kind of things, or it can detect if their users are getting stuck on certain points of the parts of the workflow, right? Bringing that data together with Joule now allows Joule to understand what's going on inside of SAP and non-SAP systems.
Yeah, so
and can even allow it to fill fields and execute transactions and things in the UI.
So the UX changes in two ways. One is you can ask Joule at any time what's happening and what you need, or explain what I'm looking at, or
that would be a good use case.
Yeah, and the other one is if you now you need to click, I don't know, 5 to 10 times to get the report you want with the right filters, etc. And you can also ask Joule
To just do this
give me
for
an
you.
overview of all my staff that was sick more than 10 days this year or something, and it will just run the report.
What skills I need to activate, which elements, which fields I need to select to achieve that objective. That's this whole agenticness, stringing together these tools, these actions, these steps.
Do dashboards become more important then? Because I can imagine like a finance or an HR person, they have their favorite reports or their favorite things they want to look at. And of course they can ask it every day and it will generate it, but I can imagine a more interactive dashboard can also work.
Yeah, I mean, that works together with SAP Analytics Cloud, right? And Just Ask, where you have dashboards, and you can either manipulate the dashboard or navigate to it, right, using natural language. Or you can pull that out and just get it in a chat and look at a small graph quickly or navigate to that. So.
And Joule is integrated there as well.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah. So and you can also do it across the company then, because I don't know, your CIO wants to know about HR and finance and supply chain.
And the important thing there is, again, Joule integrates with the access rights that you have. Right? Because that's one of the tricky things with building these agents is, I don't know, if I can access an agent that can access payroll data, for example, I shouldn't have access to that. That should never happen. So it inherits the access rights of the users.
Okay. You kind of said it already, but you also explained like that Joule is going to follow you where you're going. If you read a news article and there's something impacting the businesses in your country, you can ask Joule like, is this impacting us, and
That's a good scenario,
yeah. What do we need to do?
And I guess in that case, it would be calling Perplexity, right?
Yeah. but how are you going to do that? Because you don't control the endpoint of the user.
WalkMe in particular has a good footprint already. So it's like 25% or 30% of the Fortune 500 companies use WalkMe already. Again, the whole point of it is that it's in a very secure manner, right?
Of course.
Understanding the UI, right? What is the user doing on their computer?
So is that installed on their computer, or is that like a browser extension?
Typically a browser extension.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that one.
Yeah, but
not part of WalkMe.
But you're focusing on SaaS, so web-based is enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. So, but it's going to follow you around, so you can ask questions wherever you are. Do you see?
And also, we introduced this. This was shown as well, the action bar, right?
Yeah.
So then it can proactively suggest things based on what you're looking at, what you're doing.
Yeah, to run actions as well.
So not just waiting for input, right? But actually, like, make a recommendation. Right? Like the example, hey, you only have one supplier, you need more, something like that.
But it's only doing the actions within the SAP landscape, I presume. If you're reading a news article, it doesn't pop up like, hey, this can affect your business, or
that'd be a good use case. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe I don't know if the privacy people would like that much. If you're gonna read every page, but I do want to know: do you see Joule becoming like your personal business assistant? That it's active 24/7. That when you boot up in the morning, it will say, "Hey, this happened overnight. You're missing out. This news developed in the world. I don't know. There's a blockage of a canal, and the ships can't go through. It might impact your business." And
that's always been the vision for these copilots: to support the users and everything that they need to do, make it easy to access the systems.
Yeah, so it's more than just the SAP business. It's more of being a business assistant around the full scale of the business.
Again, and I certainly think with this like Perplexity, right? So this is this answer engine that we're building, and the ability of Joule to work outside of SAP systems and bring in context from web pages or other applications, things like this.
Yeah, Perplexity is like Google, but more AI based and tries to deliver summarized results
very popular web search engine based on AI. Yes.
And you trust it to get up with the accurate answers, because that's always the big question. You're pulling from a really large data set.
Yeah, I mean, for pulling accurate information from SAP systems.
Yeah.
I mean, we're very confident, right, in our ability to do that. Of course, we always reference the data source that it came from so that a user can verify. But actually, what Joule's sitting on top of is a huge knowledge graph that we built. So knowledge graph defines the relationships between all the entities in the system. Right?
Yeah, and it gives the context to what you're looking at.
Yeah. To give an idea of the scale of that, in S/4HANA, the knowledge graph is built on 452,000 tables and 7.3 million fields. And 80,000 CDS views and all these like technical.
It sounds like you made a bit of a complex data structure.
Business processes are complex as well, right? But it defines all the relationships between these things, which is actually a big manual effort to build that. But the benefit you get is that if you're asking questions from SAP systems, Joule understand, like if I'm looking at a certain screen in a certain transaction and I ask like a question and it's about contract accounting, it knows which tables to go and look at and right, all these kind of things. So there we're very confident. It reduces hallucination to almost zero, basically. I mean, for Perplexity, right, which is more looking outside of SAP systems, right, looking into the web, this kind of search to bring that together. There, I think, they're a leading company in terms of how they bring that together, and then of course reference the data sources so that users can check this state of the art.
So how important is Joule for SAP then? Is that like, is everything hanging on Joule now? Because it sounds like it's going to be your most primary piece of software.
As someone who's been in the AI unit now for 8 years, right? I've been through a few hype cycles of AI. Of course, it's amazing to still see Joule like so prominent, right?
Yeah.
Last year in Sapphire, this year in Sapphire, like really good like customer feedback and adoption on it, and the technology enabling this kind of like vision, right? That we've had for a long time to again allow users to just interact with the system in a natural language, right, and have this business assistant, right, that supports you in your day-to-day work.
And Joule is only coming to your SaaS offering, or is it also coming to the on-premise version of some customers already?
In the cloud only.
In the cloud only,
including the private edition customers on Rise. Yeah. And honestly, the reason is it's very practical, right? So in SaaS, it's much easier, like pure public cloud, public SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier to build because we control the data models. We know the APIs. We can build that in, and we can roll it out to 5,000 customers at once, and it just goes out.
And also ones in the public offerings that are running in your own data centers. Or it's only ones on the hyperscalers?
No, it runs everywhere.
It runs everywhere.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. Yeah, because we have BTP is our abstraction layer with the AI Foundation, and that sits wherever we're wherever we're deployed.
And are your customers going to see a massive change in their environments then in the next couple of weeks, or is it already available? Because you're announcing a lot of new agents today.
Sure.
You also have a lot of public cloud customers already. So when are they going to see this new agents pop up? Is that today? Is that tomorrow? Next week?
Yeah. So the agent builder went GA, right? So that's where they can build their custom Joule agent builder.
Yeah.
And the other agents are basically every quarter. There's like a couple that are being rolled out.
Yeah.
And of course, customers need to go and activate these things, right, themselves, because otherwise you sit down in front of your computer and see what's going on.
Okay, but in the next 3 to 6 months,
yes,
all these AI agents will be here?
The policy at Sapphire, right, for announcements and demos is that this needs to be product reality by end of the year.
Okay. And are they also going to see like a change in UX? Is Joule going to be more prominent than it was last year, or?
I would say yes, and we already see that internally, right? So even if I open my homepage at SAP and I go on the portal, there's Joule there now, right? So I can navigate it. It's success factors. It definitely will be present, let's say, in all of the user interfaces.
Do you think it requires a different approach for customers who are considering a new finance or HR solution? That it's no longer about SaaS and tables and data entry, but it's this whole new AI era is going to change the way we use these types of software.
Yeah, I think in the media event just over there, Krishna Mohammed were alluding to that. You still need this foundation, right? Transactions still need to be executed somewhere in a system, right? You need that data structure, and then Joule is now bringing all of that together on top of that.
Yeah. And you also said that you can build skills and you can build agents in the future. is Joule going to help you build those things as well?
Actually, the Joule Agent Builder is interesting. So we're starting with a low-code, no-code solution for building agents. So you're configuring the agents basically because it makes them more controllable. But you actually start that in Joule itself. So you would say, hey, I want to create a new agent. Yeah? And it'll say, okay, what should the agent do? What should we call it? So you can
what kind of action should it perform?
Yeah, you can click like through the wizard and just walk your way down and say, okay, what data sources should this access? What authorizations does it need? What knowledge base? Does it need to access the knowledge graph? These kind of things.
Yeah.
You can click through, or you can also do that with Joule itself in natural language. Yeah.
And then you get like an overview in low code, no code, like a workflow in the past. How it works?
Yeah, you basically test it.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and fix it, obviously, right? And then eventually at one point you say, okay, now it's ready.
And you can see the steps it walks through
into production
to get to the end result.
It's important to be explainable.
Yeah.
Right? So what steps is it working through? What reasoning process is it working through? What systems is it accessing? Right? So to also expose that to the user, just to build trust and to verify what the agents are doing.
And do you have your own reasoning model, or can you use any model, or?
Strategy-wise, again, like we partner very, very broadly on LLMs.
Yeah.
Because they cost a lot to build, right? Every week there's a new model coming out that's better than some other model.
I know what you mean. We write about all of it. So it's a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. But reasoning models are part of those. Right?
Yeah.
So we work with NVIDIA, for example, or we have OpenAI's O3 model. And basically we're always trying to pick the best model for the task. So we test the models for that agent.
Okay. So you build an agent and you then test the models, which one
is working best in terms of accuracy, latency, availability, regional availability, all these kind of factors.
Oh, that's very handy, I guess, for your customers, because usually they have to choose by themselves and they don't always choose the best one.
For embedded, we choose the best model, and that's quite a process. So we literally usually have to create a test data set as well to evaluate the output. Yeah. And we'll benchmark those use cases, agents against, it depends which model, 10 or 15 models, right? And then we'll pick the best one based on that benchmarking. And then we give those tools to customers so they can do their own benchmarking.
Yeah. But if you build an agent with a wizard and a low-code, no-code interface, you guys are generating the prompt behind it, right?
Yes, we show that, yeah.
But that's very complicated, especially if you use different models as well.
Yeah.
Because I know from experience, the same prompt on different models can get you totally different outcomes and not always the result you want.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was also one of these announcements we made, right? This benchmark engineering, we call it. Okay, so strategy-wise, right? Again, partner broadly on LLMs because we need to spread risk out, and that's so much innovation happening. We want to be able to just pick the best model. But in practice, to actually swap out the model underneath, it can be like a week of effort. So you need to go back in
manually or
effort developer. They'll go back in, they'll do prompt engineering, they'll test it again, they'll do all this kind of stuff, which makes it not so easy to switch out the models, right?
No.
And that was this announcement with benchmark engineering, with Not Diamond, right, a partner of ours, and prompt optimization. Okay, so basically using a large language model to convert that prompt from one format for one model to a different format in another model.
So you figured out how to optimize a prompt for a different model. So you really understand how these models operate the best. Yeah, and
it's funny, we even ran it on our own prompts for the same model, and we were getting 5 or 10% improvement in accuracy. And you still have to define like the golden input and output pair, and right. So there's some work that needs to be done. Yeah. This is what I want to get out of it. Yeah? This is the data you're getting in. But again, through the magic of AI, it's able to optimize that, and that makes these models much more fungible and interchangeable now.
Okay. And you said before you're now supporting 11 languages?
In Joule supports 11 languages.
Are there more coming, or is that?
It's a good point. I think we aim to support the standard languages that are supported in SAP systems. So.
Okay. Is Dutch supported in SAP systems?
Not sure, actually. Might be.
Okay. But yeah, if you see opportunity, more languages will come.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. thank you for this nice conversation. I think it was really helpful for, especially for me, but I also think for our viewers and readers to get a better grip on what Joule is, what it can do, and how it's going to change SaaS in a way, especially at SAP.
Yeah, I agree. It's exciting times. So appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. I will be back with the next video at Sapphire. Stay tuned.